So I'm going to go over some of the basics of Bash scripting and how to make some basic scripts in Bash. So first, let's just say hello.sh. You can name these files whatever you want because you're going to be directly calling them, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But the first thing you're going to need to use is the shebang line, which can either be bin bash like this or user bin env space bash like that. Now this is used this shebang line basically tells Bash what sort of language you're working with here. If you don't include it, it will get a little confused. So the first thing we should do, very common, is just like a little hello world script. Now if you look, the other scripts here are all green. This one isn't. That's because it hasn't been marked executable yet. So we mark it executable with the +X. Now we look again. It has executable permissions. It's green. And the way we call a script is by using /. And you can see here it prints hello. If you look here, we're in the home TM bootcamp scripts file, so we can call it by its absolute path as well. And it also runs. Now the shebang line is useful for example, say we want to use a different language here. You can use different shebang lines to get different languages there. Because you can see here, instead of saying bash, we said Python 3, and then we wrote something in Python, which works. Let's just get rid of that. And as well, again, this had no file extension, but because we directly called the program, we didn't use another application to try and interpret what it was going to be. That's fine. Here, these extensions are only for readability, so we can look and just sort of know what's going on without having to do something a little more without any further investigation, like the file command. But so let's look over some basic stuff we can do here, like reading user input. Here we use the read command with the RP flags, and if we look, the R is just, let me go back up to the top, the synopsis, read tech R, and then the variable. That will work for, basically what this does is it just means the backslash character isn't escape, it's going to be interpreted as a literal string. And then the variable is what you store it as. The tag P is the prompt. For some reason it didn't. Yeah, here the tag P is the prompt. So we go back in here, put it all together. Read, so we could put backslashes in P. So the prompt here enters something, and then it's stored in the variable. And down here we just echo out that variable a little later. So that's how you read input. Next, let's go with some loops. So here we have a for loop. If you remember, this is brace expansion. So if we just do that, it'll create a list literally of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here that will just echo out each individual line. So if we go here, you can see that did echo out each individual line 1 to 5. There's also while loops. This is how you write while true. Similarly to the for I in, you can put your condition here and it will run as long as that condition is true. In this case, it will run forever, just printing loop. Alright, so let's combine those concepts to make a simple program where a user will enter a number and then count up to it. So let's, same syntax, just enter a number and store that in our user number variable. And then this time let's use a while loop. Let's say, oops, user num, or let's go count is less than user num. We can do, first here we set count equal to 0. And that error message there is just, I have a syntax checker that is getting mad at me. So I had a syntax checker that was getting mad at me, and that's what those comments were, because I had written before. The syntax checker doesn't matter. So let's just echo the count, and then let's say count is now equal to now the count is equal to count plus 1, and this will run through. Whoops, I forgot to make these, say that these were variables. And there you go, now it works. Of course, since count starts at 0, we can change this to 1, and it will start counting at 1. Or you could do it any number of ways, but that's just a basic script. There were some command, one particular script that we didn't run, and this was options.sh. This is how you write command line flags like are in a lot of other commands like ls, where you can get LAH. But so now if we run options without any arguments, it doesn't do anything. But if we run B, we can have it print blue. If we run A, we can have it print at. And if we put the whole acronym in, it will print the whole acronym. And basically, you see the B option here. We define what it does. The semicolon ends it. And that sort of has, and that's how you do that. So let's integrate that into a script. And a lot of times you'll hear people say when you ask a question, well, that depends on this, or well, that depends on that. So let's write a quick counter to count how many times people say it depends. Now, real quick, because I don't really have a better place to put it, that's how you write multi-line comments. You put a colon, and then really any special character will work. Maybe it has to be a quote. Alright, yeah, I was incorrect. It does have to be a quote. But if we this is just the basic syntax for how to make a multi-line comment that, well, in this case, just describes what this program will do. So the first thing, let's define an out file. Let's just call that it depends.log. And then let's define count as, well, first let's do a let's go over sort of if statements. I know I haven't talked about this yet, but or well, no, let's do it this way. Equal to okay, so what did I just do? So I used an if statement real quick to check if this out file exists, and if it does, you cat out the contents of the out file and put it in a variable count. If it does not exist, you set count equal to 0. That bracket, the square brackets in Linux are actually a command. It took me a little second to figure this out, but the command is called type. So if we scroll down here to tac E, it should be somewhere in here. Maybe it's in the help page. But tac E, one second, let me just quickly run it. Tac E will check if a file exists. If you want more information about sort of this square bracket thing, the search term is the type command, and that man page and that help page will talk about it a little bit in further detail than I will here. So real quick, we could just say it depends number and then count, and so that will say how many times someone's already said it to us, and then we can just echo say let's echo that to the out file. So now when we run it depends, we say 0, 1, 2. We basically have a counter function, or a counter program. Fairly simple, but what if we want some other stuff? So if we real quick look again at our options.sh, we can see we can use this getops function to, or getops functionality to do command line flags. So let's implement that real quick. While just a quick just so I can make sure I get it right the first time. Yep, there we go, that's my issue. Or let's change this to P, that might make more sense. And then let's just cat out the out file. What does it matter about? What did I do wrong? Okay, I forgot to do. But so basically what this will do is look for the P flag, and if it exists, it will so now if we run it depends.sh, we can say we'll say 3, but if we print it out, maybe return isn't the right word. So now we have our getups function, so we should have a sort of the ability to run command line flags. So let's see how this works. To print, the problem there, we put defined the out file too far down, which means it was an undefined variable, didn't work. So that's just the normal count, and then if we print it out, it'll just print out the number without, what did I call this? Yeah, so it'll just print out the number without adding to it. So this is just a basic sort of file, and those are some of the basics of Bash shell scripting.